The morning after the debate, there is also the matter of Joe the Plumber. Joe the unlicensed plumber, the tale of whose tax bracket revealing itself today to be utter fiction. Outside Toledo, Ohio on Sunday, Joe Wurzelbacher approaching Senator Obama to question him about his tax plan, telling him that he was a plumber, quote, getting ready to buy a company that makes $250,000 to $280,000 a year. Your new tax plan is going to tax me more, isn't it? Last night, Senator McCain pouncing on that exchange as a cautionary tale for the common American, citing Joe the Plumber 21 times and using him as his object lesson of the evils of the Obama tax plan. Except none of it adds up. Joe the Plumber is not licensed as a plumber. Joe the Plumber has no specific plans for buying his boss's business. Joe the Plumber's boss's business is not making $250,000 a year, but closer to $100,000. And buying it might be difficult because in 2006, Joe the Plumber only made $40,000, a figure that would save him at least $500 a year under Obama's tax plan. Despite all that, in Pennsylvania this morning, Senator McCain still plumbing the depths with good old Joe.
The real winner last night was Joe the Plumber. Joe's the man.
That means you finished second or third. Senator McCain adding that Senator Obama will, quote, take Joe's money and give it to someone else. We're not going to stand for that. Well, good luck doing that anyway. Mr. Wurzelbacher's opposition to taxes apparently extends to not paying them at all. Period. Politico reporting that according to records from Lucas County, Ohio, and the Court of Common Pleas there, Samuel J., the J is for Joe Wurzelbacher, has a lien placed against him for more than $1,100 dating from January of 2007. Finally, Senator McCain's entire premise in raising Joe the Plumber was based on the idea that an average Joe could be earning $250,000, and that would qualify as struggling and in dire need of tax relief. Cue Senator Obama's response.
Same argument, same philosophy, that if you give more and more to millionaires and billionaires, that they're all going to that prosperity will trickle down on all of us somehow. And then he's trying to suggest that a plumber is the guy he's fighting for. How many plumbers you know making $250,000 a year?
Lots to talk about with Chris Hayes, the Washington editor of The Nation magazine. Chris, good evening.
Hey there, Keith.
So if Joe the non-plumber really was the big winner last night, what does that say about Senator McCain's candidacy?
Well, I think what it says is that, you know, for all their flaws, they still excel at throwing out chum into the water for the press to gnaw on. I mean, if you turned on TV today, this guy's got, 10 satellite trucks outside his house, and he's being interviewed. And I think he's enjoying his 15 minutes. But the entire conceit is transparently absurd. There's 300 million people in the United States. There's probably about 120 million people who are going to cast votes in this election. And, you can pick anyone at random. Senator Obama could have said, look, I have this supporter who is a young black woman in New York City who is, has taken out student loans to advance her education, and she's not going to get much help from McCain's plan. You can pick, a farm worker in California. The point, though, is that the McCain campaign understood the press has this obsession with the white male working class voter as somehow a stand-in for the whole nation, and they just sold that. And, judging by 24 hours of the news cycle, I suppose it worked a little bit.
So Senator McCain's last best attempt to connect with struggling Americans on this issue of taxes, whether we reject the whole construct of this, let's just accept it for the sake of the argument.
Right.
It is, however, using the example of a guy who he thinks makes $250,000 a year, except he's really making 40, who is not really trying to buy a business that isn't worth $250,000 anyway. How is that not an example of being in touch with the common guy, but being completely out of touch?
No, it perfectly sums up the entire mythos that this conservative populism functions on. And the point is that, even if he had this business that brought in $280,000, he would only be paying the higher marginal rate on the $30,000 above $250,000. But leaving that aside for a moment, there's this tremendous gap between the mythical creature of Joe the Plumber and the actual real life guy. And we see this time and time and again. Sarah Palin's a perfect example. And what it shows is that the modern Republican Party and the McCain campaign campaign and the right wing are so much more heavily invested in a caricature of ordinariness than they are in actual real-life ordinary people. And that's, I think, the takeaway that's so perfectly illustrated by this.
And of course, I'm just thinking suddenly of the old TV ads. You probably wouldn't remember these with Josephine the plumber, but that's another story altogether. Something else that right now falls entirely into the realm of simple irony. There's no indication that these people are related, but Joe's name, Wurzelbacher, it seems so unusual. It turns out it's not. Ohio is teeming with Wurzelbachers. But if you Google that name and up pops a Robert Wurzelbacher, again, who's evidently no relation to Joe, but that Wurzelbacher was the son-in-law of Charles Keating of the Keating Five. Chris, if you're running a campaign and you do that and that name comes up and somebody says, oh, yeah, son-in-law of Charles Keating, don't you cross Joe off of your list of stunts solely to avoid that name being mentioned even once?
Look, I don't think they're putting that much thought into anything they're doing. I think this was wing. In fact, I actually think it was a little classless, honestly. I mean, you thrust this guy now in the spotlight. He's got satellite trucks outside his house. People are now looking at what his property records are. I mean, I think he's sort of enjoying it. And he, like you said, he was already kind of this right-wing talk radio sensation. But the fact of the matter is, like everything else in this campaign, I don't think a tremendous amount of forethought went into the Joe the Plumber stunt last night.
And between all that we know about this and the fact that, indeed, the right-wing radio yackers were talking about this guy before the debate, and the resemblance of this entire episode to your standard political plant gets bigger and bigger with every passing hour. You mentioned the term takeaway before. Is another takeaway here, yet another gimmick that got about as much vetting as the selection of Governor Palin did?
Yeah, it was another gimmick, and again, they're all tactics and no strategy in the McCain campaign. So what do they do today? I mean, I suppose they won some kind of marginal short-term victory by eating up an entire day of the news cycle with people talking to this guy and looking at what his property tax records are. But I don't think it advanced the ball on a broader economic argument. Particularly, the delicious irony at the core of all this is that the guy is making $40,000 a year and would benefit more from Senator Obama's tax plan. I don't see how they didn't just shoot themselves in the foot.
No, see, I got it. It's coming to me. It's coming to me. For the next 19 days, voter of the day. Each day, John McCain announces some lucky voter who is really representative of why you should vote for him and not vote for Obama, and all the camera crews rush to that guy's house. It's like a
and he cancels his campaign to go help them out.
That's right. So you don't have to pay attention to McCain or Palin. You can just go visit Joe the Plumber, or Jane Withers as Josephine the Plumber. Chris Hayes of The Nation magazine. As always, Chris, great thanks.